job like as far as, especially when the injuries pop in, because you've had a couple of new additions with Keyshawn, Matt Mack, Wiley today. What's kind of the process when you have those things pop up here in camp?
Yeah, quickly, we're communicating with our pro department, just getting a quick list together of street free agents, maybe 3, 4, 5 guys that we'll bring in for a workout, pretty quickly. Just get them on a plane, get them here, work them out, and hopefully sign one of them. So it's kind of a group effort, just identifying certain street free agents. They could be guys that just got cut, guys that maybe been in the UFL. So there's certainly a process to kind of get those names together.
Like, when you look at what you guys have at wide receiver, how do you balance just taking the best 6, 7 guys versus having diversity in that room, and maybe somebody offers something that somebody doesn't? Like, what is that conversation going to be?
Yeah, I think typically, I think, the way I see it, I think in the past you kind of want to build it like almost like a basketball team a little bit, different skill sets, different type of players, which I think, we have a lot of talented, players in the room. There's a lot of really good competition. But I think you can balance speed, physicality, run after catch, special teams aspect. So you want to have a lot of diversity in the room in terms of skill sets. But the special team aspect is huge, especially for those depth guys.
I wonder if you could describe the process watching the other preseason games for potential cuts later on that may be of interest.
Yeah, so our guys, from the first preseason, the Hall of Fame game, throughout the preseason, our pro department, they each have, a handful of teams that they're watching. They're probably watching 25, 30 guys per team, mostly younger players, maybe some young vets that they feel like maybe on the bubble that could potentially help, maybe our 53, but also, could be practice squad guys down the road. So they're tagging those guys in our system, and those are the guys that get funneled to, myself, Chris, Veach, Nutt, and Tim Terry, and then we'll get together, around the Bears game, and we'll meet for a couple of days and just, kind of condense that list. Maybe there's only 4 or 5 guys that legitimately we might, target.
Any thoughts on, I don't think we talked about but since post-draft as a whole, like the offensive tackle, what have you seen from him so far, and what makes him intriguing at this point?
Yeah, he's a big kid, big strong kid that can play both tackle spots. Had a good All-Star game, and he's certainly got physical traits. Now I think it's just being consistent and stacking days and eliminating the errors. But talented kid that he's fit in well with the room. There's a lot of really good competition there for depth spots there. We feel good about our depth especially in the second group. So he's got potential, but he's got to keep showing it.
As you go depth, is there any particular area where you feel like that the depth is maybe deeper than you've gotten into training camp than maybe you expected?
Yeah, I think our D-line depth's, a strength right now. And I think we've definitely gotten stronger, really on both lines. I like our the additions we made on the offensive line, in addition to the defensive line. That's both free agency and the draft. I like our linebacker depth. As we talked about receivers. I think this is a year where there's going to be a lot of tough conversations. Multiple spots. It's not going to be easy for there's going to be players. Unfortunately, we released that our NFL players are going to be playing for other teams.
A couple more.
I'm just touching on offensive line, but just going into the offseason, big picture, you guys always emphasize defensive offensive line. But this offseason, just the conversations like this seems to be the top priority.
Yeah, I think so. And listen, I don't think it was just because of the Super Bowl. I think it was just that's just kind of how we want to build the roster, and we want to infuse it with youth and talent. And fortunately, through free agency and the draft, we were able to do that. And feel good with it's a good blend of youth experience. I think guys with versatility. So really encouraged by what we've seen so far.
Last year you were pretty active at the end of the cut down deadline, knowing that you're 31 on the waiver wire again this year. You've got some old friends that are pretty high on the waiver wire that might be familiar with your guys.
Yeah.
How much 3D chess is going in there as far as if you want somebody off the waiver wire, you maybe have to go make a trade?
Yeah, and that's just the reality of it. It's a good problem to have. It means you've done pretty well that you're far down on the claim. But yeah, right now we're talking to every team in the league. Myself, all our contacts. We're just gathering information now. So whether that would mean potentially trading for a guy, doing a play for player swap, maybe maybe there could be a guy that you think might be available to claim. Yeah, we're going to be active. I mean, we're gonna watch as much tape as possible. We're gonna, and maybe it just doesn't work out, but we're gonna identify certain players that we think could help us now down the road, and we'll see where it goes.
Thanks, Mike.
Good. Thanks, guys. Fire away.
Chris, you had a busy few weeks there. I mean, I know you're deeply involved in the contracts, the salary cap, so getting Trey and George both done. How important was it to get the draft, just to know kind of what pieces you have in place for the future?
Sure, we were very excited to be able to get both of those contracts done, and zooming out to the big picture, one of the core operating principles we have that Veach has adopted as the general manager here and goes all the way up to ownership is that we want to draft well and retain our own players to the maximum extent possible that's feasible within our constraints, and we were very happy to get both of those guys done as important starters on both offense and defense.
How much progress do you think has been made with you guys trying to retain Trent before the start of the regular season?
Sure. Well, it's a great question, and I don't think it's appropriate for me in my position to comment on any specific prospective business with any one particular player, but I'll go back to the big picture, zoom out. Brett has done a really good job of drafting players with support from the coaching staff and all of us and all the scouts and support staff. Retaining players that we've drafted and have become core players for us is really important.
Just considering the contracts that are done and what's coming up, Trent potentially adds number next year. How important is long-term planning? How many years down the line are you looking at the things we have to do?
Sure. Well, it is really important. So we always try to keep a 3-year glimpse into the future as to how all different moving parts affect our available resources, so that as we have individual transactions with a player or a negotiation with an individual player and agent, those have to fit into the bigger picture. And we're trying to manage our resources, be that draft picks, money, both cash and cap money, to best sustain our championship roster. And it's not always easy, but having that 3-year perspective, and sometimes it's really a 2-year perspective because 3 years in can be a blank canvas, is very important to our decisions.
This last year, you guys seemed like we were a little bit surprised with the number of the salary cap. Pleasantly surprised, I think, by what that number was. I mean, when you do those 2-year windows or occasionally 3-year windows, I mean, how do you factor that aspect in, considering there's a pretty big unknown?
It is an educated guesstimate based on a lot of factors, but generally I think teams tend to be a little bit conservative with projecting the cap, so they make sure they don't get themselves in a little bit higher than we think, and that's a pleasant problem to have. It's sort of found money, for lack of a better term, but we work through historical trends and how we see things moving in the future to try to give us a conservative but fair number to work with.
Last one. Anybody?
There's a little bit of a hubbub this year about second-round picks and
Mm-hmm.
guarantee money and all that. I mean, how often do you get? Was that something you knew was going to be going on around the league, or is that a little bit of a curveball? And how often do you kind of get those curveballs in your business?
Well, it was a little bit of both. So the second round had guarantees being negotiated in it for a number of years. Just the timing and where those guarantees were landing in the round was a little different. I think it wasn't something that was completely out of left field. The fact that it became noticed by folks generally was a little unusual because we are normally working on those rookie contracts without a whole lot of fanfare to the actual, details of it. But it just took a little bit more time, but we were fortunate that we were able to get it done with Omar before camp started. And moving forward, I think there'll still be negotiation in the second round, and who knows, maybe it'll be a cause celeb moving forward too.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Last.
Oh, just go ahead.
There's been, it's been a long time since the CBA to kind of eliminate those problems.
Sure.
Back in the day, it got ugly a lot. Is there something that you guys as an organization would like to see to keep that from kind of coming back up?
So
It's fair for both sides, I guess.
yeah, look, the collective bargaining agreement should operate fairly for both sides. In terms of my specific role, those collective bargaining discussions about what we'd like to see and not like to see from my role, that really ends up being an ownership and union level discussion. The having grown up in the league under previous structures, the negotiations for rookie picks now is certainly less lengthy, and there are fewer moving parts, but there's still negotiation going on, and we still have to work with the agents, but we'll work with whatever system we're told to, so we're good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.